Mike and Derek, the two old codgers on a mountain range. It's 11 AM on Monday the 13th of June and we've reached the highest point of where we're going today. We were late setting off. Being the 13th, I managed to lie on my specs and from now on we'll be using Mike's instead. It's been a steady and steep climb up to where we are, and we had a choice of the high route, which we're on, or a low route, and Mike's saying he probably wished he'd done the lower route now, which is more shady, and certainly on this route we've had 2 or 3 spikes of rock that have been interesting to climb. We've come all the way, you can see the valleys, looking back the way we've come, and over that nearest ridge down in the valley is where we stayed last night. Unfortunately we didn't get a second tent because the bed bugs that we'd been warned about had driven everybody out of the bunkhouse, and so all the tents were taken. We had a reasonably good night's sleep and a late-ish start actually. We've only been going just under 3 hours, but it's a shorter day and that's good. Anyway, best to everybody. Speak to you later.
That evening, Derek Haynes sent another update via WhatsApp. Halfway, huzzah! Stage 8, day 8. Refuge Petra Piana to Refuge de Londa. 6.5 miles, about 8 hours. We were offered 2 routes, high and low. We chose the high route for views and an understanding that the going was fairly easy. What nonsense. We climbed steeply out of the refuge and were soon amongst exposed rock and hand-over-hand climbing. A snake, not yet identified, slithered out of a fissure, and I tapped my baton as a warning. It immediately bolted down another hole in the rock, and we continued. We reached Boca Manganiello without too much problem and continued to the ridge that would take us to our next refuge. Bees hummed as they collected from the wild flowers. A small lizard ran amok, and ants seemed to have colonized every boulder. Boulder climbing was almost continuous, but more serious stuff was built in. Exposed rock faces and difficult climbing took a toll on our energy and nerves. It was quite a test. We turned south in the ridge, paralleling the west coast, and the views were spectacular. Eventually, the high point was reached, and we started the long descent towards our refuge. What a slog. Scree and other nasties lined the route, so a mile an hour was a bonus. Mike had a slip and fall. Although he was not badly injured, care was a big consideration. Our refuge for the night came into view, but another 2 hours elapsed before we reached it. Very nice, but only 2 water closets and douches to serve the trekkers. Dinner of soup, broccoli, lasagna, and chocolate mousse. Not for me. At 6:30, with a glass of vin. Rough day, early night, onward. Stage 8 was noted in the book as being an easy day. The only reason it was noted as being easier was because the distance was less. Still, 1,280 feet up and 2,625 feet down. For me, it was very hard, vertigo, and I didn't enjoy one bit of the day other than finishing. I think a combination of physical tiredness, not brilliant food for 7 days, a touch of Montezuma tummy, sleeping in tents, it all came to a head. This trip is far from being a jolly. My knees are killing me, but fortunately no blisters, which Derek is enduring along with everything else.
This is Refuge de Londa on Monday the 13th of June. They fence off the tent areas because of wild pigs. However, when I arrived, the horses and donkeys were in that area. Fine looking specimens. You can see it's quite a nice location. In that area over there with the trees, there's a stream. You can hear it running. You wouldn't be able to, but I can. was a pain for me, you see that gate down there? My tent is the third one over to the right. So every time someone goes in or out, it clangs shut if they don't actually manually close it. So I could be having a disturbed night tonight. Anyway, all is well. I'll scan around so you see the rest of the building. No, I won't. I'll watch what these donkeys are doing and the horse. And tomorrow morning we're going to be heading up and over there. 3,200 feet descent tomorrow morning. Still at Refuge de Londa. And I don't know if there's a dog chasing these goats down, but there's a big herd of goats just come down off the mountain, heading over towards that area over there. So I don't know whether they just come down of their own choice because it's feeding time or whatever. And I don't see a dog around, so perhaps they are used to coming down by themselves. There's a mixture there of ewes, rams, little ones at the back. Anyway, I thought I would share that with you.
Knowing Stage 9 ended at a hotel, we decided to get up early, 5 a.m., to be on the trail at 6 a.m. Did not see much activity from Derek's tent, and at 5:40 a.m. discovered he was still asleep. The frustration was knocked into touch when I discovered breakfast and our picnic would not be ready till 6:30 a.m. Oh well. Stage 9 started with a 2,200 foot ascent and 6,000 foot descent. This was the first day with no scrambling and little to no scary bits. We saw 2 snakes today, Corsican grass snakes. They weren't huge, and they scurried off when they saw us. The ascent was a slog, but we actually kept pace with some others today. The descent was knee-jerking, but quite pleasant in some sections, passing through trees and parallel to a stream. As usual, it was hot, and we both plucked up the courage to take a dip. Very refreshing, too. But next time, I'll just dip my feet. We actually finished the hike in the time noted in the book. Just goes to show how scrambling and exposed areas are what hold us up. I woke to great news from Jillian at Jubilate that a family charity had donated $75,000 US. Huzzah! And thus far, we're at about 125,000 Cayman dollars. The news certainly put a spring in our step as we attacked a very steep climb from the start. It took us about 2.5 hours to the top, where we arrived panting and soaked in sweat. Fortunately, there was little scrambling or climbing, so our progress was good. The views were, as usual, superb.
Which is our highest point of the day at just over 6,000 feet. At last glance at the Mediterranean, distance over there for a while. We've just come around, traversed that ridge around there, just below the top of the mountain there, and made our way after some reasonably stiff climbing, but nothing like the earlier days. And you can just see the mountains over there, and then some of the trekkers with Mike just there ready to go. And our route takes us down the slopes here and down to a lake. See this signpost here with Refuge Manganou on it, the GR20, which, as you know, we're following. So, all the best.
Then the long descent that zigzagged along stony and scree-shaped paths across boulder fields and open slabs. Very tricky and extra care needed. The sun was very hot again, and we were both wearing our Jubilate shirts as headdress again. It seems we've been nicknamed the Saudi Arabians. Fortunately, we entered shady forest about halfway down, and that was much cooler. A melted snow stream tumbled and cascaded down the gorge alongside our route. Rock pools had been gouged out, and families were taking advantage of a cool dip. We decided to have a dip too. Wow, it was cold, but so refreshing. Eventually, we reached the village of Vizavant, and then on the approach, there was a large number of young children on a school outing. The teachers gave us permission to be photographed with them, a challenge from Rotary President Jim, but they weren't permitted to show their faces. So they all faced backwards while a teacher took the picture.
This is Visanova. In front of us is the train station. Visanova's supposedly a village, but it's pretty much a one-horse town. That is it in that direction. And then that up there on the left is our hotel. And other than a refuge, that's pretty much it.
Well, evening all, it's Tuesday the 14th of June, and we're sitting outside our hotel, Visa something or other, where in a little village where we're staying the night. And I must say that considering we're supposed to be being in hard times, this hotel is great. But the previous 9 days of which we've gone has been pretty hard going, to be honest. Hard climbs, very steep, very difficult, and more climbing than you would expect for trekkers. But Mike and myself have carried on, and as I say, we've only now got 7 phases or days of this trundle down the GR20 to do. Fortunately for us, the people who have been watching our progress have done extremely well and been very generous. We had a $75,000 US donation today, which to wake up to find out had been given was absolutely fantastic. And I bounded up the mountain at least 2 miles an hour, and it just really was phenomenal to get that sort of news. And then other monies are coming from elsewhere. We're up to somewhere like $150,000, which these children that we're walking for and representing in Jubilate really need in order for them to become really implanted into the Cayman society and given every chance that they deserve. So please follow us. Please understand that what we're doing is in order to raise funds, but probably more important is awareness of what these children are able to do. And it's very, very important that you support us as well. So I'll hand you over to...
No, just sign off.
I'll just sign off. 2 old codgers in the mountains. A little bit tired after a long day. But please follow what we're doing. All of us.
If you want to be part of this adventure and support Mike and Derek on this trek, there's a number of ways that you can help. You can, first of all, subscribe to the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman's YouTube channel so that you receive further updates, and you can like the updates that appeal to you most. Remember, subscriptions and likes are contagious. The more we get, the more exposure these videos get, and the more exposure this trip gets, and the more that helps Jubilate. You can also share these posts with anyone and everyone that you know on YouTube or Facebook or other social media. And finally, the most helpful thing you can do is to support Jubilate. All funds donated go straight to Jubilate, 100%. The trip is funded entirely by Mike and Derek on their own, so all of the money that gets donated goes straight to Jubilate, and therefore it goes straight to the future leaders of the Cayman Islands, the children who are in that after-school program and who are benefiting from it so much.